Grace, what are you giving Jackie?
I was thinking a pillowcase. I'm thinking he pulls it over somebody's head and snaps it back, or he uses it to catch a knife. If he's jumping out a window, I can see him using it as a parachute. I just think he could do a lot of damage with that.
As we so often are, you and I are on the same wavelength here.
Oh my God.
We're on the same wavelength
No
here.
way.
Welcome to your last podcast, the last podcast in the game, but the first you should listen to. I'm your host, Colton Simpson, and with me this week, always in my corner, it's the amazing Grace Tatigian.
Hello, hello.
And to my left, it's our resident audiophile, William Ham Clark.
Oh.
And last but certainly not least, down at the other end of the table, it's Mr. Listen himself, Josh Vey.
What are you at?
So what is your last podcast? We're a conversational podcast where every week each of us brings the topic of conversation to argue amongst ourselves and talk it out for your amusement. If you like that, be sure to subscribe to the podcast feed to never miss a new episode. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And if you're feeling generous or have a couple of bucks to toss our way, you can always head on over to patreon.com/yourlastpodcast and help support the show. So with all that out of the way, Grace, what's your topic?
All right. So mine is something, and we've had many conversations about this over the years. You all grew up in Goose Bay. I grew up in the suburbs of Montreal, very different environments to grow up in.
Yeah.
And so we have very different ideas of what is considered normal. So I wanted to ask you, growing up, what is something that you always thought was normal, which either in recent years or as you grew older, you realized wasn't necessarily normal? All right, Josh.
Oh, here
Go
we go
for it.
again. Under the fucking spotlight
Kicking off
again.
the show
You're
again
right
this week.
in my line of sight.
I know. She just knows that I'm the most uncouth and she wants to put me on the spot. Okay, so something
Get you out of the way.
Something that I thought was normal. Well, I had to give a great deal of thought to your topic, so it took me about 5 minutes to come up with an answer. And
As much time she spent looking into the Spinosaurus last week,
I was going to
I'll
say
remind
researching
you.
dinosaurs.
probably, but
Yeah.
I'm not wrong though. So, so with regards to something I thought was normal, that turns out, guess what? It's not really normal. And I'm not proud of this, but littering, firing stuff out the window of
yeah.
a moving vehicle was just something we used to do, especially as teenagers. And I mean, I see he's nodding at me, but he's just as fucking guilty as I was and proud of it,
that's
right?
why I'm
That's why he's
nodding.
nodding.
I'm agreeing.
Yeah, 100%. Like, together, we definitely added to the environment. We provided a few artificial homes for rabbits and squirrels. But, yeah, that was definitely something that, granted, I don't know if it was really normal or but it was accepted.
It was definitely normal among our peers, and I mean, I've seen people's parents do it as well. I mean, in Goose Bay, there, you always had people that were part of the penitentiary going along, picking up all the garbage. I mean, it was pretty common for garbage to be there all the time. The only one that was definitely, you don't do it, is you do not throw trash on the airfield. That was always the one that I was told. Don't put it on the airfield, just take down a plane.
That was only one time, though. that was one time.
Yeah.
But with regards of, littering, it was just, you take a drive down towards the dump down in Goose Bay, and, dump closes at 4 o'clock. When do most people get off work? 4:30. So you go down by the dump. Half the dump is outside the fence in the woods because people can't get in there to drop their refrigerators and their fucking stoves off. So they just hove it off in the woods and gone, right?
Good spot for it.
Pretty
Good
much,
spot
yeah.
for it.
So, I mean, well, the bears got to eat too, eh, boy?
Oh, yes.
So it's the type of thing where, with regards of littering, there was one time in particular, this is definitely not a normal story, but we were going for a little drive and having something to eat, which, I don't know about Montreal, but in Goose Bay, that's what you do. You're either eating or driving. You're either burning gas or spending money on food. That's what you're doing as a youngster in Goose Bay, right? So we were driving down the Northwest River, or back up from, I think, and I had, a big old feed of Kentucky Fried, right? And I had some gravy that was left in this little tub, right? So, of course, I was done eating my stuff. Put down the window of the canyon, out the window, right? Smokes the Dodge Ram in behind me.
Yeah. I remember this one.
With the gravy.
Yeah.
My son, you want to see someone get dirty? Oh my! You got about 6 inches off the back bumper of the truck, I would say.
What he's leaving out is, yes, he threw out the gravy, but he also threw out the whole bag of Kentucky Fried. The gravy happened to be in there, but, there was probably Twister wrappers, everything. The whole bag hit the guy's windshield, but the gravy exploded, went like all over it.
You
over
know
the
what
entire
coagulated
windshield.
gravy is like? I mean, that's just like shit to a blanket, right? So right across the windshield, the windshield wipers went across and just made this beautiful
Smeared
little
it.
gravy smear.
Yeah.
He chased us, so we took off.
Oh, yeah, gone. Up through drop zone. We lost them, though.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to do something, be good at it, right?
Yeah.
But with regards of things that when I came out here, first year university, I'll never forget one time we were going to a movie or something, and you were in the
Yeah.
you were in-
I remember.
You were in the truck, and someone else was as well.
Mhm.
And I remember we were having something. I don't know. We were having something to eat. Might have been Dairy Queen, actually. Now that I think about it, doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think it was booster juice, but anyways.
Yeah. So, anyways, I was done with my drink, and being the polite young fella that I am, I don't want to go dirting up his vehicle, leaving stuff in the vehicle. So, you gotta be respectful of people's property. So out the window she went, right?
Yeah.
And the look on Miss Montreal over
Oh
here.
my God, I could not believe what I was seeing. I don't think I had ever seen anyone litter before. I didn't
my
think anyone
God.
actually did it.
Yeah.
There are signs back home, fines for littering.
There are in Goose Bay as well, but I mean, they don't enforce that shit. No one
Oh my
enforces
gosh.
that.
Yeah. Oh God, it was funny. I actually had a buddy back in Goose Bay. We used to go to NW quite a bit, and they had a little slogan on their drinks that used to say, "Put litter in its place." So he used to walk outdoors and fire cups out on the ground, and people used to say, "What are you doing? Like, what are you doing throwing your cups out on the ground?" He said, "I'm putting litter in its place." Not litter if it's in the garbage.
Yeah.
That was his logic, right?
I also remember when we came out here, I was a little bit ignorant, and I remember with the curbside recycling. Now, it was partially, I did know the difference, but it was also like, oh, they're showing you in the advertisement. It's called curbside recycling. What are they doing exactly in the advertisement? They're taking pop cans and throwing them out the window onto the curb.
Yeah,
it was a bad advertisement.
To be fair, the advertisement shows like the bouncing of a can down the road
Onto
or
the-
something
yeah.
like that.
I'd
Yeah.
see it as, older now. If I had to justify my 19-year-old self, I would say, there's some good jail outreach programs that would never happen if there wasn't anything to pick up alongside of the road. I mean, them poor fuckers needs to get out of the cell from time to time to do a little bit of repay the debt for society, right? But no, as an adult now, I'm not proud of that fact. I definitely think it was wrong. It certainly was not normal, but it was definitely accepted. So for me, that's my little contribution.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Yeah, and for myself, I mean, you kind of alluded to it when you mentioned like the dump and the bears there. Definitely the most normal thing growing up in Goose Bay was the wildlife. More specifically,
The not so wildlife.
yeah, well, I mean, the bears at the dump. I remember in particular, like,
Oh, yes.
we'd go swimming at Striver, Northwest River Beach, like, quite often. And on the way back, as like a, kind of like to the zoo, like go to the Goose Bay Zoo, Mom would be like, "You want to go look at the bears? Yeah, sure, let's go look at the bears." Go to the zoo, or the zoo, go to the dump, and you just would drive up like Trash Mountain because it wasn't like segregated or, it was just a bunch of garbage piled on top of each other. Drive up the mountain. There'd be like 5 or 6 different cars there just parked looking at the bears. I remember seeing his dad there.
Oh, yes.
He fed a bear
Oh,
with
yes.
his hand, like feeding him Tim Hortons like donuts or something with his hand.
Timbits, my son.
Yeah,
Timbits.
Timbits. The bears were so fat and well fed, they just kept coming back. And there was always like 5 or 6 bears there. I mean, wildlife in Goose Bay, just with bears, like growing up, I remember when I came out here and I met people who have never seen a bear before. I was like, oh my God, I don't know if I remember a time when I haven't seen a bear.
And
Like,
even out here, you get people like Grace that are not from here. I mean, you see some moose on Kenmount Road and they get right running over it. It's like, where'd he come from?
yeah.
Geez, they're everywhere. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
there's millions of them out there.
We're in the middle of the wilderness. I remember, like, as a kid with bears as well, with a game of war. We were playing over at my cousin Clayton's house at my Aunt
For anyone
Penny's.
who is watching who is not from Goose Bay War, they're not talking about the card game.
No. We're talking about hide and go seek with sticks
And rocks.
and rocks. So how you win war is you don't just find them, you see them. You got to catch them and then smack them with a stick.
Oh, yes.
So there was all this.
That was another thing that when you first told me that, I thought that was the most ridiculous thing I had ever
Oh
heard.
man, well, you never lived if you played a good game of war. I mean, there's just so much strategy to it. Are you going to take the big long stick, but it gets caught on the trees as you're running through the forest? You're going to take the club? Like, what are you going to choose? But I remember one time we were playing a game of war, and I was waiting in the bushes, and I heard like something rustle next to me, and we were playing with a larger guy at the time. I'm not going to call him out, but he was dressed in all black because war was all business. Like, make sure you got your camo on or you're dressed in dark green to hide in with the trees. And I remember I crouched down next to him, and I looked at him, and I said, I said his name, but for the sake of the story, Johnny. And he didn't respond. And I was like, Johnny. And he turned his head, and it was not Johnny at all. It was a black bear. It was like 4 or 5 feet ahead of me. And I remember I turned around to my brother, and it was Tyler Patey at the time, and told them, run. And they took off running, like gone through the trees. And I waited a second because I was always told, don't run from a bear, like, try and make yourself big. But I waited like 2 or 3 seconds longer than those guys, took off running, and I beat them all back to the house. I remember I ran so fast and, getting caught on trees, probably scraped up my knees and everything. But I mean, bears, wildlife.
Well, I mean, people used to go down to the dump on quad and chase the bears on quad, like corralling them, like the Spanish bull run or whatever it's called, right? Oh yeah, I knew one feller that went right up alongside the bear, gave a good crack on the earth on ATV, and then took off, right? I mean, borderline probably animal abuse in a way, but they probably loved it. There was a box of Timbits involved with it, or a bag of Doritos or something. I mean, that's survival.
Just like on like how much junk food they had. Do you think like our bears might have had diabetes?
I knew you were going to ask this. There's a good chance.
They seems a bit like too docile.
Should they fall under the MCP plan for insulin, seeing how we give them diabetes?
I think they should be, yeah.
All right, Ham, let's finish up this Goose Bay trifecta of what was normal in Goose Bay.
So, Skipper here was talking about the dump bears.
Yes.
And he mentioned quads. And I just wanted to bring up the fact that everyone drives fucking like ATVs, skidoos, and dirt bikes on the side of the fucking road all the time back home.
Screeching like a banshee up the back stretch to a dust flow. Oh, yes.
Yep. The carbide scraping, sparks flying everywhere on the skidoo, zooming up the road. Yeah.
On wrong side, too. Driving towards the traffic. Oh, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that, like, I always thought was, like, normal, but, like, it's really not. Like, you can't drive, like, around a town where, like, people have to fucking go to work and drive on the roads when you got Skipper coming at you on his fucking new MXZ.
Short track.
Spraying fucking powder at you and going,
oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember when they used the rooster tail up on the side of the road. Remember, and just rev and spray it all across the road in traffic and shit? Yeah.
Now, I'm going to tell you something now. I was down CBS there this past winter, and I was pulled over along the side of the road, and I walked into the Tim Hortons down there, and I got caught wind of the smell of two-stroke motor oil. I almost cried. I almost cried. What a beautiful smell. I'd forgotten. It's been almost 2 years since I smelled it. Fuck, was something good.
That's how you know you're from Labrador and not from the island, because...
Two-stroke skidoo. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. And the smell of gas, that's the
I
Labrador
knew that's
thing,
where you were
right?
going with that.
Oh, yes. Yeah. But the smell of that two-stroke motor oil, I mean, that's better than Mother's homemade bread, right? Hey, boy.
On that topic.
That's true.
Yeah.
So completely different. Growing up in the suburbs, I thought it was completely normal to have a stay-at-home mom who was a homemaker. Like, my mother's job was raising these 3 kids. And that meant doing all the cooking, all the cleaning, everything made from scratch. Like, every single lunch was made on homemade bread. Every single day, coming home to snack laid out on the table. No after school daycare that we had to go to. Nothing like that. No prepackaged foods in the house. Mm-hmm. If you were having your lunch, you had little container of baby carrots. You had your sandwich made on homemade bread. You had homemade granola bars.
We had little containers, but there wasn't no like homemade stuff into
homemade granola bars. That's
sacrilegious.
You mean Ziploc bags?
No, I'm talking with Lunchables by little tiny plastic and over little containers.
No way. Nothing disposable. Everything was reusable. Everything was homemade. Everything was fresh. And I just thought that was completely normal. I had a lot of friends who had stay-at-home moms. At least, one parent either stayed from home, worked from home, or was a stay-at-home parent. And their full-time job was just taking care of the house, the kids, and I firmly believe that is just as much a job as, going out and working 9 to 5 or whatever it might be. But I just always thought that was pretty standard, having one stay-at-home parent. And now when you look at the price of childcare, if you've got 3 kids and they're each 3 years apart, I mean, if my parents had to pay for childcare, probably would have come out in the wash. You know what I mean? So it wasn't really a factor of money, I don't think, but it was just that was normal. And that, you expect to come home to freshly baked cookies on the counter and mom sitting down helping you with homework. And I always thought this was normal. You guys look at me
what
like
was
I got three
normal was
heads.
for mom to come in through the door at 4:30 after getting off work, fire down a sleeve of Oreos and go, there you go. That's what was normal.
What was normal for me was getting home at like 3:15 and then rifling through the cupboards and taking the Oreos or whatever mom had for myself. And then, her
Do
getting
a line
home,
of Oreos very quick before mom came home. Maybe
dish them out to my brother and sister, and, mom back at home at 5:30, exhausted after working a full day. And then, trying to scramble to get something together for supper. I used to always make fun of her because she'd always stress out about supper, but I understand now.
Poor thing.
I used to always make fun because she'd always be asking me, Colton, what do you want for supper tomorrow? I don't know, ask me tomorrow.
My mom is the exact same way. Like, I used to be afraid to tell mom that. I still would be today. It's like, if you tell her you like something, look out, because you'll be eating it for a month. Right?
I think I ate goulash for 3 years straight.
But I understand why, because it's a fucking pain in the ass trying to sort out school lunches. So when I said I like blueberry Pop-Tarts, what'd mom do? Well, right down to North Mart and max out the credit card and buy 300 boxes of blueberry Pop-Tarts, because that's taken care of for a few months now. I don't have to arse with that anymore, right?
But yeah, that's a huge challenge, coming home from work and then tending to your kids, making sure they're fed, having their lunches. And I mean, my mom was stay-at-home mom. She had all day to, do the laundry, do the washing, do the cleaning the house and making supper and getting lunches ready. And she was still up late getting this done every single day. I can't even imagine working 9 to 5 and then having to do all of this on top of it. It was a huge, huge luxury that I had growing up that I never realized until I got older and met people who that was not the case for them growing up.
I think it's better for rearing up youngsters, too, because you're actually getting raised by your mom. You're not getting raised up by some cantankerous old babysitter or something you got pawned off.
It's just not a luxury that everyone can afford.
No,
but,
certainly not.
yeah.
No.
Yeah. All right, so that pretty much does it for my topic.
So us three Neanderthals and the civilized Grace.
Pampered princess over here.
Well, Ham, what's your topic?
All right, so I wanted to get into subcultures this week. I wanted to know what your thoughts on like the strangest subcultures that you've either like been a part of or just bore witness to from like afar.
Sure, I'll start. Probably one of the most strange subcultures that I've witnessed to, and I see it quite often. Mr. Man over there at the other end of the table sees it all the time as well. It's just gym culture in general. Like, the gym is such a weird spot. Like,
fuck is it ever?
Like, just the type of people that go. Like, you'll have like the big steroid dudes that are just like huge. You'll have the skeets there that I'm like, what? You're not even doing anything. You're just kind of skulking about. I'm like, oh, they're trying to steal my shit in the locker room. You'll have the girls there. Some of them just taking pictures of themselves all the time in the mirror. You'll have other normal people there. Girls just working out and guys just working out. But in terms of like inside that culture, it's just very strange. Like, it's very, I don't really know how to describe it. Just very homoerotic, the way the gym is sometimes when you're watching like how these like two big muscly men are sweating, like patting each other on the back, like, oh, great lift, man, great lift. It's like shit you'd never see anywhere else.
No, you're right. There's definitely stuff that you could get away with more in the gym in terms of like complimenting another dude without it being taken out of context.
Yeah.
Versus like if you did that on the street, you could lose a couple of teeth.
Well, the thing is, I was there today and I was just doing my normal sets, and a guy came up to another guy and said, oh, you look like you're struggling there, man. Do you need a hand? He's like, yeah, man, I'd really appreciate that. And then they're like helping each other do squats and shit. Just like
that's kind of nice.
It's kind of nice, but it's a bit strange, If you were, like Josh said, if you were on the street and someone was helping you squat down and pick something up, it'd be a bit strange. It was just a stranger.
I appreciate that.
All right, well,
I got bad knees. I'd be very appreciative.
It's the only place where men and women alike can turn back onto a mirror, stick their arse out, and take a picture with their phone. And spend 10 minutes doing it, and no one seems to think that this is a bit weird or anything like that.
Right? I mean, when you go into the change rooms as well, like I've seen dudes in there doing exactly that, standing ass onto the camera, taking a selfie. I'm like, what the hell are you doing, man?
Oh, it's so weird.
Or even weirder, like when I was in there was this shirtless dude one time, and I've seen him at the gym numerous times. So this is like, he does this quite often. He walks around the gym, and this is probably like a 45-year-old dude, and he is in good shape, but he just walks around the change room shirtless, eating a can of tuna. And most of the time, he's just looking at himself in the mirror, eating a can of tuna, just like spoon, just going at it. Ugh. And I understand tuna's full of protein, great gains, man. But it's just, then the whole change room just smells like tuna for the rest of the day. And I mean, mixed with the showers and just the sweaty people anyways, it's just, it's not a great spot sometimes.
Take the men's changing room, for example. Nothing at all to see an 80-year-old bag hanging in front of your face.
Oh, where else are you going to see that?
Exactly.
Right?
Like, you're not going down to Walmart and seeing someone strip off stark naked and go walking around with their dicky bird out.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Oh.
But in the change room, like, I personally don't do this. Like, I keep my drawers on until I go into the shower.
Yeah.
Right? But no, people just strips off, arse naked, walking around, having conversations. Like, it's weird, man.
In Toronto, I remember I went into the change room and a dude was actually manscaping. Like, he dragged over the garbage can and was trimming himself. Like,
that's
in the
crack.
change
That's
room.
gross. Yeah,
it's
that's
just
gross.
crack. Like, where else are you going to see that other than the gym? And I mean, I only saw that once, thankfully, but because it's something you never forget.
No, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a very strange culture at the gym, you know? And that's just one part of it. But anyways. Grace, what's a strange subculture you've witnessed?
Probably the strangest one for me is cybergoths. I just think
explain it for the table.
Cybergoths. I mean, I don't see a lot of it around here. Definitely not. I've seen one, maybe two in the entire time I've lived here.
Like the colorful reds?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, you know, the goth aesthetic. You know what I mean? All black and very dramatic looking. But it's like you cross that with the steampunky look.
Yeah.
But, okay, so Josh is looking really confused. The eyebrows are just going over there. So, I mean, you can easily Google a picture and throw it up on the video for anybody who's watching on YouTube. But it's like people are typically like quite gaunt and pale with heavy dark makeup. And then they wear a lot of like black, shiny, tight clothing, like corsets and stuff like that, highlighted with really neon aspects. So it might be like a lace-up corset with a neon ribbon, but the hair is really the wild part because they have these... They're not even dreads because they're usually made out of plastic. You know those toys like the Chinese finger trap toys that if you stick your fingers in, you pull it, you can't get your fingers out.
Oh my God.
That kind of, sometimes they're in cat toys, stuff like that. It's like that, but neon.
What are we talking about?
It's pinned into hair. Yeah, and it's pinned into hair. And it's like enormous. And I think the thing that I find strangest about it is I'm not the kind of person who puts a lot of effort in the morning. You know, I'll put on some basic makeup so that I don't look dead. And then I wear like business casual to work. And that's pretty much it. That's all the effort I'm going to put in. And I just look at these people with the makeup that they put on every day and the hair that they put in, because these are, I'm assuming they don't sleep with this stuff in. Like that is a lot of effort to put in to just go about your daily life. If you're going to a con or, you know, some kind of event and you want to dress up wild, go for it. But it's just the fact that it's a everyday thing for a lot of people. It's crazy.
Do you know where the cyber part of cybergoth comes from? Like, because I'm not really sure.
There's a lot of like techno music and stuff like that. Like a lot of German techno and shit.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the type of like music or the type of art they're involved in.
Like, have you seen this before, Colton?
I've
Do you know what I'm
seen
talking
pictures
about?
of it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. It's just...
Josh doesn't. I don't think you've ever seen it. We'll show you a picture after Josh. You'll shake your head a little more.
Have you guys seen the video of them like dancing, like the cyber goth, like mall goth, like they're just like all lazily dancing? Like
no, I haven't seen that.
No,
throwing their arms is terrible.
But like
It's terrible.
I know a handful of people back home. We don't know them well by any means, but there were people who I went to high school with who were a little bit, you know, they were definitely into the goth scene in high school, but really after high school really got into the cyber goth scene. Don't know any of them terribly well, but I would see pictures of them on Facebook, mutual friends and stuff like that. And all I could think is, man, that is a lot of work to put in. Mm-hmm. It seems like an awful, I don't see the reward in it.
No, and neither do I. I don't see the point in any of that stuff, to tell you the truth. Like, and that sort of leads into mine as well, if you don't mind me hijacking the limelight from you again. But in terms of like, for me, I don't understand the skeet culture that's going on here, particularly in St. John's, right? Because you want to see real skeets, go on down to Village Mall. Millions of them down there.
Yep.
You don't have to look at them for very long to figure out, fuck, I do not want to be like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Right? But then you go around to like the Avalon Mall, right? And just in the profession that I'm in now, I sort of get to see enough of these young people that I can tell who's got money and who doesn't. Why are you dressing up like a fucking skeet when you're Bucks Deluxe over here? Like, why do you want to look like something down to the Village Mall half coked out of his tree? There's nothing cool about that.
No.
I don't see anything appealing about it, but here you are going around like using skeet words and stuff like that and dressing with the holes in your jeans and all that old stuff, right? Like, going around vaping like you're the most badass fucking thing in the world. It's just, I don't get it.
But we're not 15.
No, we're not him, but neither are some of these people.
And neither are the people I see at the gym. They're certainly not 15 either.
Exactly. Like, man, I don't get it. I get there's like a Newfoundland look, right? Like, my son, I go around, I got a red checkers woods coat here that I don't have on. I would never call myself a skeet just because I wear a style of clothing that's meant to be outdoors. I tend to spend a lot of time outdoors. That's why I wear it. But there are people that like, geez, they probably don't even know what sun is. Haven't been out under the clouds that often. They're going around like they're hunting fucking moose all the time. And I don't understand it. It's just, are you doing it for you or are you doing it to make a statement? When did the skeet culture become cool? Is it just because of people like Mike Lynch and other members of the Outhouse comedy skit group that have sort of made these personas that have become popular? You know what I mean?
Oh, they're funny. They're great personas to watch on a Facebook video for sure.
But they're not real either.
No, they're not.
That's what I mean.
Right?
Like, I've actually
pretty nice fellas.
Yeah, I've met Mike Lynch and I've met Colin Hollett downtown, and man, they're normal. Like they're not like they're not skeets at all. They're pretty average fellers. Like they're performers, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
But to go around, mouthing off to everyone you come across because I watched a 10-second Facebook video and it's seen best kind. That's foolishness, as far as I'm concerned.
No, for sure.
I'll never understand it. But anyways, what do you got, Ham?
Now, the one I wanted to bring up, I've been pestering everyone about this for a few weeks. But I wanted to bring up hype beasts and like, if you're like not involved in like, I hate to say this, but like internet culture, it doesn't really make sense at all. Basically, for like people who don't know, like the aesthetic is like Supreme, everything, expensive Adidas, way too much jewelry, bad fuckboy haircuts. I mean, I can't say shit right now, but
Kim L. Clark over here.
Yeah.
Well, for me, Supreme was always gasoline, for one. I only realized that that's a clothing brand and accessories like not that long ago.
I think it's only a few years old anyways, Supreme. I could be wrong.
No, it's actually been around for a while, but they basically just hijacked that from like skate shit.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of ripping off like kind of like skate culture and the whole hype beast thing, but like nobody skates. But no, just like the whole like appearing to like have a fuck ton of money and like having like, oh, I gotta have like my shoe game on point, man, or you have to have like, oh yeah, I have raw denim because you know it's from Japan, and
would the boys
it's
still have went
$200.
to war if they knew this is the way the world was going to turn out? Would we still have stormed the beaches of Normandy if we were worried about youngsters spending $1,000 on a pair of shoes?
Come on, Josh, your shoe game's on point.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, Ham's told me many times. Apparently, I've been ahead of the trend.
You're in vogue. No,
there you go.
Not even joking. Your like shoe game is on point.
I don't know what that means, but thank you.
But basically, like the thing that bugs me about it is just the fact that like it's like a counterculture to that doesn't have anything like to counter. Like, yeah, it's like a reaction to like the whole like hipster thing, but like it's basically like looking at capitalism and like sucking its dick.
Yeah, worshiping it.
Yeah. And like we didn't have that like until recently. Like we grew up in like Scene Kid era, and we were all like, man, fuck the world.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Everything sucks. And
My
like
heart bleeds black.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all that shit. And like you had like punk for like years and like hippie culture, and like that was all like anti-establishment. Whereas like hype beasts are like super like pro-establishment. They're like it's very like, I don't want to say American, but it's very like capitalist.
Yes, consumerist based. You're 100% right. And I you know what? I kind of understand what you're talking about now, because with, like you said, the hipster stuff would be all about let's go to the thrift shop and find the dirtiest pair of underwear that's been worn 20 times, and we'll wear that on our heads to make a statement, right? But with regards to what you're saying, it's, no, I want to buy the biggest ticket item that's available so everyone knows I'm Box Deluxe over here, right? More. A lot of these people, the way they dress, I mean, they got more, looks like they got more money than Kellogg's got cornflakes. When really they could be broke.
Yeah, it's just very fake, right? It's about projecting that you're more wealthy or you have more clout, as what they say, than other people, right? Just based on money and your financial status. Like, when really they could just be thousands of dollars in debt on credit cards. But as long as everybody thinks they're rich, then they have some, what is it? The relevancy? Yeah.
Relevancy. And like one of the big things for that is like the fact that like it's so like social media forward. Like everyone does shit for the gram. So put like drone shots of them and their new outfit. Like, who gives a shit about your new outfit in a drone shot? Like, no one gives a shit about that. On that note, Death Doll hype beast. And who am I passing off to? Who's taking it?
Yeah, I'll go next. And, mine's a pretty hard pivot from both of your guys. I don't have some big lead in like last week. Star Wars Celebration is coming up this weekend when we're recording. We're recording a little bit early this week because Grace is heading out of town.
Sorry.
So we had to kind of bank an episode. So we don't have too much to say about my topic yet. But with Star Wars Celebration this weekend, do we give a shit about Star Wars Episode 9 anymore? And the reason why I just kind of want to ask the question is because it is in the zeitgeist right now. Everything I listen to is talking about Star Wars or talking about the Avengers in a couple of weeks. It's all about Disney properties. So I'm just wondering, do we give a shit anymore after seeing Solo, after seeing Star Wars The Last Jedi, after seeing Rogue One? Do we care?
My son, the arse fucking fell out of it.
You took the words right out of my mouth, sir.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I don't give a fuck about it anymore.
And arguably, you're probably one of the bigger Star Wars fanboys.
He is
here.
at this table, I would say. He's probably the biggest that I know, yeah.
And, like, I'm not, like, super, like, I don't have a ton of Star Wars merch or anything like that, but, like, it's...
I thought you got that back tattoo.
But, no, it's definitely a part of, like, my childhood, for sure. It's, like, very nostalgic. Like, growing up with the original trilogy. And the new one, and not realizing how bad it was until like going back. Wasn't that bad.
You're talking
though.
about the prequels, right? Yeah.
You know what? Going back though, I actually kind of like 1 and 3 more than.
Well, 2's definitely the worst.
2 is cancer,
which you don't realize growing up, but when you get older and you go back and rewatch them when you're 26, huge different. 2 is horrible. 2 is horrible.
No.
Yeah.
But to answer his question and sort of pivot off of you, Ham, I agree. I don't give a dancing fuck about Star Wars. After I watched The Last Jedi and the green titty milk and the firing the lightsaber over the shoulder, which is like classic Insidious Marvel humor, which I despise. I can't stand it. I hate it. It cringes. No, I don't care, because to me, it's just about sucking the life out of it. It's just like, let's squeeze some more out of the udder here now. See what we can drag out of this old cow before she curdles over and dies.
So I know you're a fan of The Force Awakens. I mean, I would say probably most of us here like The Force Awakens.
It's a good movie.
With the same director coming back, like J.J. Abrams, do you believe that it can be as good as The Force Awakens, or better than The Last Jedi at least, like Episode 9? Or do you think it's just so much of a shitstorm?
No, so here's the thing. A shit pie is a shit pie. You can put as much whipped cream on a shit pie as you want, but it's still a shit pie. And after The Last Jedi, I feel like how much history would you have to erase in order to scoop the shit out of the pie and replace it with apple? Because you'd almost have to just fucking pretend that whole movie didn't happen in order to pivot away from the skullduggery that went on there in The Last Jedi. And I don't know how you're going to do it. It's going to be so clumsy to get done. Well, look at what you did in the last one. This is just one example. I'm not going to like ramble on about this, but you took one of the greatest movie heroes of all time, and rather than giving him a good death, you fucking made him evaporate. Like dew
to death on a rock.
Yeah, like dew on the road at 9:00 in the morning, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's something wrong with you. Like, what's wrong with you? You're not firing on all 4 cylinders to start making directorial decisions like that. And I mean, to me, I was like, what is going on when I was watching this? Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Right?
When I was reading J.J. Abrams' comments today, he basically said that, yeah, Rian Johnson, which is the director of The Last Jedi, went in a very different direction, and we're not going in that direction. So basically he said, that movie sucks.
Well, I'll tell you
and
what.
we're ignoring it.
Listen, I'll tell you what. If we get 10 minutes into that movie and Rose is gone, that'll be an instant 1 extra star for me. Because she was awful.
She's pretty bad in that movie.
She should have died instead of the other sister.
Her sister was better, and she was in 3 minutes of the movie.
Yes.
Yeah, I found out who her sister is. She's the girl on not a good show, but Iron Fist.
Oh God, I'm
I
not
wouldn't
even gonna
know
comment on that. But
That show fucking sucks. I watched all of it.
Well, so does Rose, so she should give up Star Wars and go and be on with
But-
that crowd.
But Grace, as the person who watched it the most recently, what did you think about The Last Jedi when you were rewatching it?
Yeah, so when you proposed this topic, I said, I honestly don't remember a lot about that movie. When I went to go see it, it was just so not memorable, I found. I know you guys found it very memorable.
Well, Josh called me up the next day and we talked for 2.5 hours about what we hated about the movie and how they could have changed things.
I haven't had a
we
phone call like that since I was 14, had a breakup.
we were so upset. Yeah.
And then Solo came out. Felt like
It was
a couple months
5 or 6
later.
months later, yeah.
And that one I enjoyed even less.
Okay.
And they just kind of blended together for me. And I said, honestly, I don't remember. So you said, rewatch it. So I rewatched it, and, over breakfast, and then hit pause, and then over lunch, and then hit pause, and then, and it's what I call an airplane movie. You watch it, you don't feel bad about dozing off. You open your eyes, you watch a lightsaber battle, you close your eyes again. I mean, I didn't find it as
Excellent way to put it, Grace. I wouldn't even care when they interrupt you twice to make the English and a French announcement.
Exactly. Someone comes and gives you your ginger ale or tomato juice or whatever you're having on your flight, and you don't even pause the movie. You just, oh yeah, and you look away, and somebody might bump you or get up to go to the bathroom, and you don't really bother. So I didn't find it as offensive as you guys found it, but certainly did not find it memorable. Even a few parts that I had remembered thinking, well, that was a high point in the movie, I didn't even find that great this time. And I was wondering if I was going to enjoy it more this time because we went in with such high expectations.
Oh my God. Like, I avoided the trailers for that movie for a full year. Do you know how much work that is? I go to the movies, like, at this point, like 2 or 3 times a week.
Yeah.
And the Star Wars trailers before every single movie. And I'd sit there with my eyes closed and just kind of like fingers in my ears, like as I, ignoring the trailers because I was like, I heard that they spoiled too much of the movie, so I was trying to avoid it. Like, yeah, we went in with very high expectations.
So I went in with really low expectations. And honestly, I felt no different. It was just really mediocre. So, I mean, will I see the new one when it comes out? Probably. But am I excited? No. Do I particularly care? No.
Yeah, the biggest issue with The Last Jedi is just kind of how much it shits on the fan base. And the thing is, I can understand the argument that The Force Awakens is a retread of A New Hope. Everyone says that when they want to critique that movie. But when we think of A New Hope, was it a good movie? Most people would say yes. So if it is a carbon copy of a good movie, at least it's a good movie. The Last Jedi, it tries to do all these things, subvert expectations, getting, Luke tossing the lightsaber over his shoulder.
Deliver.
No, it doesn't deliver at all. I mean, if you're gonna make all
it's
these,
not a fucking Avengers movie.
Well, the thing is right in the beginning of the movie, it had a bad taste in my mouth because I did find the Marvel Disney humor throughout it, and the very first time
but
is
they
with,
don't pull it off. That's
no,
the
it's
thing.
bad. It all falls flat. Like Donald Gleason, like that, the part where he's talking to Oscar Isaac, Poe Dameron in the movie.
He keeps calling him General Hugs.
Yeah, and like,
when the water shooting out of him and all that
pasty,
stuff.
gangly. Yeah, that afterward, that's terrible. It's just all of the parts in the movie with the humor, it falls flat. And I see what Rian Johnson's trying to do. He's trying to do this idea of like, hey, everything you love about the franchise, let's kill it. Let's move on, just like he does with Luke in the movie. And let's reinvent it. Let's kind of find our own identity. But the identity that he found is goofy as all hell. I remember you and I just talking about this movie.
In a good way.
Like when the movie ended, it's the only movie I've ever had in the theater where we went with probably 5, 6, 7 people. And as the movie ended, we didn't even turn to ask each other what we thought. We just burst out laughing. I remember we were just in such disbelief of like what we just watched. Like it was so stupid.
Let me ask you a question now, and I just want to see if you're on the same wavelength as me. When did you know shit took a turn south?
I know a very specific moment.
Is it the same as me when Leia's eyes opens
100%.
up in space?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, she gets
was...
blasted out like she gets photon torpedoed, and her corpse is dancing, somersaulting through space, and then we're like, oh, what a good send off, because Missy died in real life, right?
Yeah,
So
Carrie
good,
Fisher. Yeah.
good chance to kill her off.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the eyes open, and she starts tractor beaming her way back towards the ship. I was like, what is going on here?
Oh yeah. As soon as that happened, I was like, oh my God, this movie's gonna have to do some work to bring me back, because it was the goofiest shit I've ever seen. And I understand it's like, oh, Carrie Fisher, obviously she's playing a very heroic character, you know, General Leia or Princess Leia in these movies. She's very important. But man, when that scene happens, you had this perfectly framed shot of her floating in space in front of a Star Destroyer. We all know she's dead in real life. Great send off for the character. And you just bring her back to do nothing the entire movie. She's just laying down the entire movie.
Like, I'm old.
And then to make matters worse,
Basically.
they kind of fake you out at the end of the movie, and you could have gave her that cool send-off that General Holdo, Laura Dern's character, gets when she drives the whatever type of ship they're in through the other ship. You could have did that with Leia, because she's not going to be in the next movie. So it's gonna like, the movie's gonna start with either a crawl and being like, General Leia has perished, or we're gonna have to try and cobble together leftover footage from episode 7 and 8 to try and string together some story with General Leia, or CGI her, which...
Well, apparently she said in her will she didn't want to be CGI'd, so we know that's not going to be the case.
And I really hope that's the case, but I mean, if Disney, they have so much money, if they throw enough at the estate, God only knows what will happen, right? She's already been CGI'd once in Rogue One, right at the end of it.
Oh, really?
Princess
I didn't
Leia,
know
yeah,
that.
she was CGI, yeah.
She was, yeah.
But the scene where she's floating in space, it's just overkill. So it would be one thing if she like reached out and something drifted towards her hand and you were like, oh, is that the Force?
Yeah.
Maybe if something shifted slightly, but the zoom in through like Superman type nonsense.
To be fair, like, she does have Force powers, like that is like canon, but
Well, it is
it's
canon.
a little over the top.
Yeah.
like, why the fuck do they have to do that? Like,
yeah, over the top.
fucking bad.
Yeah, but with the next movie, I really hope this trailer that's coming out on Friday is excellent. Like, I have pretty high hopes for the movie, but I'm not going to avoid everything. I'm just going to watch it all. I'm not going to try and avoid spoilers. I'm not going to do anything. I went into The Force Awakens knowing Han Solo dies, and I was still fine. I thought the movie was excellent. So I'm going to go into this one. Whatever spoilers I see. Whatever trailers I see. And let's hope that J.J. Abrams can pull it together, because with The Last Jedi, if you think about the characters and the arcs and where they go, they're pretty much in the same spot. It's like no development throughout that movie at all, other than Luke dying is the only thing. So I hope they can really assemble together the pieces and put something together, because, I mean, it'll be a tragedy if they can't, because it'll just be like the prequels all over again. So
I say we just do the Goose Bay way and burn it down. Burn it down.
they do that, and then The Last
Start
Jedi.
over.
There's something on the go there for sure.
Well, with like Yoda and Luke in The Last Jedi, man, they do burn it all down. That was the statement they were trying to make.
That was the only
movie.
sensible
far
scene
enough.
in the movie, I think.
Well, in terms of sensible scenes, the throne room fight with Rey and Kylo, I think is a pretty good scene, you know?
It doesn't stand up. It really doesn't on a rewatch.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about Hugh Hefner Snoke in his gold lace outfit there, sitting lean back like a playboy.
I remember watching that scene in theaters. I loved it. I love the Rashomon 3 stories of Luke and Kylo, where you got the 3 different points of view, where it's like, hey, he killed, or he tried to kill me. Hey, I was defending myself. Like, it's interesting. There's adding depth to a character that's there. But I mean, trying to find things I love about this movie, it's like, I could find 3 or 4 things or certain shots that I love. Whereas in the first one, I loved these characters. I wasn't a Star Wars fan, and they brought me into the fandom. Like, I loved Rey and Poe and Finn so much that they brought me in. By the end of it, I didn't care what happened. I remember when Finn is driving into that laser beam at the end of it, I was just like, kill him, because he's ruined throughout the course of this movie. He's terrible now. Just
and of
kill him.
course, in comes Kamikaze Rose, screeching in like a banshee and intercepts him.
Can I just bring up the fact that, like, there's 3 kamikaze attempts in that movie?
All by Asian actors.
Not all by Asian actors. There's what's her face with like she shoots
Laura Dern.
Oh, yeah. Okay, well.
That's not an attempt. That's a success.
That's a success, yeah.
But they have an Asian girl do a bombing run where she just throws the
I'm not gonna
fucking
say
ship in. Like, no one thought, like, hey, maybe this is a little bit racist. Like, they already don't do good in Asia. But, like,
Well, if you want to just go Star Wars and racism, go back to the Phantom Menace, and you can see all the very poorly wrote Asian
The
characters
Trade
in it.
Federation.
Yeah.
fuck.
Yeah, so they definitely got some issues there, but yeah, hopefully I'm looking forward to whatever the next movie is called. We'll all know by the time this next episode comes out, and we'll know the poster and the
The
trailer.
last hope.
It might be, I don't know. But I hope there's something to look forward to next December, because I really do enjoy seeing those movies around Christmas time with everybody. It's just, we're all going to be going in like not giving a shit. And I'm really just trying to maintain optimism here that it'll be something good.
As nerdy as it is, I think I need to see saber to saber contact in this one.
You have to. I mean, it's not in there.
I need to see lightsaber to lightsaber clash.
I really want there to be force flips again.
Yes. I don't know if we need to go back to that shit.
Yes.
But there needs to be a good choreographed sword fight, and there needs to be on action. It can't just be a hologram coolly dodging things and quipping. Like, that sucks. Like,
Yeah, so the Rey and Kylo scene that you were talking about that you really liked, I remember walking out of that and you said, I loved that. And I said, Adam Driver was terrible. He's just kind of standing there. And you said, really? I don't remember that. Then you saw it the second time.
he is pretty stiff. I will give him that.
He wears a
I'll
back
agree.
brace, though, apparently.
He does, yeah.
Okay.
He was injured in the
Sure,
military.
remember all the
but
Skype
But-
calls for fuck's sakes that him
That's
and
terrible.
Yeah.
that him and Missy were making, just like calling each other up in their minds for the Force.
That's
But
terrible.
when I rewatched it, I was thinking, I remember him absolutely paling in comparison to her. So I was watching her a little bit more closely this time. And even she's not as good as I remember in
That's
that. So really
disappointing, yeah.
that whole scene just fell flat for me.
Well, just the ideology of that scene. Like, if they would have joined forces at the end of that scene, and the movie could have just ended there, because the next half hour, 40 minutes makes it even worse.
Oh, yeah.
That is terrible shit. That movie is already an hour longer than it needs to be if you cut out Canto Bite and you cut out all that shit. But that the idea proposed there that they would make their own alliance, forget about the Sith, forget about the Jedi. That would have been way more interesting of a story.
Absolutely.
And it also would have been in line with Rian Johnson's vision of where he wanted to kill everything and bring it in a new direction. Instead, he proposes these ideas and doesn't even follow through with it, which is like, I admire what he was trying to do, but he sucks at it. It was bad.
And
remember what you said when we come out of the movie? Pod racing.
Oh. Yeah,
but
that shit.
I agree, like the Skype call aspect really didn't work. I liked the idea that they would have a dynamic,
Like,
but it just
hey,
really
you
wasn't
up?
executed well.
Yeah, did you get that vibe this time that it was almost like a girl talking to a guy for the first time? Like, I have these.
No,
you still don't
said
get it?
that. I really didn't. I
No, I
didn't
kinda
get
got
the.
that too.
Yeah, a bunch of people did, and they said it's very like high school girl and
Yeah.
guy. Will they? Won't they? I still didn't really get that
Just
vibe.
seeing a shirtless dude and be like, "Oh, can you put something on?" And like, she's sworn to fly across the galaxy after talking to the dude 2 or 3 times. Like this is not the character from the first movie that was so strong.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought their dynamic had a lot of potential,
yeah.
but I just didn't think it was executed well.
The only thing that should have been executed in that was Rose. Somewhere in that movie, and it should have been executed well.
I hope someone writes her a good part.
That dies, hopefully.
But anyways, with that out of the way, I'm maintaining hope. Hopefully it'll be good. Josh,
Okay,
what's
so
your topic?
So sticking with the movie scene, right? Almost as serious of a subject. He haven't been on the scene for a while. The last movie I saw him in was The Foreigner, but we all remember Jackie Chan Adventures, right?
Mm-hmm.
With Uncle and what was Toru and the boys, right? Going around collecting the talismans.
Oh, yeah.
So for anyone who has watched any amount of Jackie Chan, I mean, that fucker can fight with anything. If I give him this Tim Hortons cup, he'd beat the snot out of here, right? Like, he is a living machine. So we were watching something there a little while ago, and I can't remember what the name of the movie was, but he gets a hold of a 12-step ladder, and he starts cutting people down left, right, and center, right? Like, it's nuts. So I got to thinking, if you could give Jackie a household item to weaponize, what would you give him? So Colton, what would you give Jackie if he had to fight off a league of 1,000 men, and you could only give him something from your house? What would you give him?
So, a League of 1,000 Men, and if he was coming into this house, what I kind of pictured in my mind, I wouldn't give him like a single item. What I would do is I would set the scene in like a kitchen. And what I would get him to do is I'd get him to use the cupboards and the doors and the drawers in the kitchen and beat the shit out of these guys. Like, I could just picture a scenario where he reaches for like a knife and like a knife block, and he reaches for it. And, I don't know. He's in a test kitchen, so it's a fake knife. And he has nothing to fight with. And what does he do? He rips open one of the drawers and smacks a guy in the kneecap, and then he smacks his head off the counter. Or I could see him pulling out each drawer like at such a distance that he could walk up them like steps and then kick somebody. Or I could see finally, like when he's just destroying these guys with a bunch of cupboard doors and stuff, a guy finally pulls out like a big sword and comes at him. Then finally he like rips off one of the cupboard doors and catches the knife or something, and like smashes it off a guy's head and cracks in two or something, right? I could just see a really fun choreographed fight scene in like a test kitchen of one of these like picturesque houses where everything is so fake. So, he's looking for a weapon. He opens the fridge. There's nothing there. So he has to use the door of the fridge. And, he turns around and he has to open up where the lazy Susan is and throw someone in there and spin him around shit. Like I could just see using like the kitchen, like just the cupboards, the drawers, and just such a fun way for a Jackie Chan fight scene. Like it would be great, I think.
So giving him like, my God, one thing is bad enough. If you give him a whole fucking kitchen, look out, or you could probably take the world over, I'd say.
Just drawers and cupboards. I want everything to be empty. I want him just to use the cupboards and shit. Basically, just
the set essentially.
Yeah, like rhythmic, right? I want to see that happen. Yeah.
So Ham, what are you giving Jackie?
So sort of sticking to the kitchen, and like you've seen him like fight with like throwing like pots at people, like breaking pots and like booze in the Drunken Master. He has like those little things of booze that he's just throwing at people. And liquor would probably be a good one. But
lots of that here.
I kind of wanted to give him just like a single like large size walk. Just a walk. And I know that's kind of racist, but like it could be like his like, Captain America shield, just like
using it for everything.
Deflecting off people, maybe throwing it back like a boomerang or some shit.
I can see him like stepping on it and it's like sliding across the room and him punching somebody.
Oh my God. Like in Triple X where he grinds down the thing on, what was it? It was a tray. It was a serving tray.
That's what it was. Cafeteria tray.
Jackie Chan grinding down a rail on a walk. That'd be sick.
That would be pretty good.
I could definitely see it ending off with them putting the walk up to someone's face and punching it, obviously, and smack. 100%. Like that's how that action scene would end. Yeah, a walk's good choice.
Yeah, but I want him to be like, I don't know, like Captain China.
Do you want him to be making any food in the wok when people come in? Like, is it a hot wok? Is a wok like full of pad thai and he's trying not to spill it as he's fighting in the beginning?
That's a good addition. I like that.
All right.
I like that.
He has to plate it up as he's fighting, and then the wok is empty, and now the fight is on.
Well, if you ever watch him fight, I mean, the guy can make do with anything, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just seriously watch him in that ladder scene. I'll try to figure out what that movie is called, but man, oh man, I mean, just the way he's jumping through it, he's just like the monkey, right? Jumping in through the ladder, collapsing the ladder, extending the ladder, like trapping people with the ladder, right? Oh, it's just hilarious.
He's just creative.
He is, and he does all of his own shit too, right? Which makes it that much more impressive. That's
why I was thinking about something that you could use in a bunch of different ways. Just even like 3 of those drawers stacked on top of each other. There's just a bunch of different arrangements you can like smack people with, or throw people in, or cram them in there. Like it was fun to think about. Yeah,
and they don't seem to make movies like that anymore either. Like these crazy martial art movies where there's just like total nonsense, total madness going on.
The Raid movies from a couple of years ago, they have a lot of these like big martial arts fight scenes, but they're very gory and graphic compared to the old Jackie Chan.
Yeah, that was
right?
just smack and cloak type of stuff. No blood, really. Just people getting the shit knocked out of them and not bleeding.
What's his face? Chris Tucker was just yelling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that was like,
what are you doing?
Yeah, what was that? Was that Shanghai Noon or something like? What was
Rush
that?
Hour.
Rush Hour. That's what it was in Rush Hour too. Yeah.
Shanghai Noon was like
Owen
Wilson.
Wilson. Yeah. Okay, that's right. I was getting those two confused. Grace, what are you giving Jackie?
I thought something like a knife or a kitchen utensil, like a rolling pin, would be too obvious. So I was thinking a pillowcase. Originally, I thought a full sheet, but I think that would be too big. I think that would get unwieldy. But something like a pillowcase, I'm thinking he pulls it over somebody's head and snaps it back, or he uses it to catch a knife. If he's jumping out a window, I can see him using it as a parachute. I just think he could do a lot of damage with that. Throw it over a railing and use it as a, slide down. I think there's any number of things he could do with that. As
we so often are, you and I are on the same wavelength here.
Oh my God.
We're on the same wavelength
No
here
way.
because I would choose a garbage bag.
Okay, all right.
Because a garbage bag,
Why?
I mean, is the most. If you're from Newfoundland, a garbage bag, like you put garbage in it when you're done using it for everything else that you're doing with it. It's the most versatile tool in the world. I mean, you can use it as makeshift rubber boots. You know, you can use it as a poncho outdoors when it starts raining for a makeshift umbrella. You can use it to distill water when you're out at sea and collect water and to save your life. Farmers use it all the time to cover over sensitive crops to block sunlight. It's the best fucking tool in the world. Right? Look, half our set here is garbage bags.
Yeah, I was going to say, you use it to black out the windows when you're filming a podcast.
So, with a tool that diverse, imagine how Jackie could weaponize that. I could see him using that like a grappling gun to wrap onto something, haul himself up a couple of stories or
The
something.
Force Flex Glad ones that don't rip.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, Billy Boot or something like that, it's not going to do. You got to go for the Kirkland ones with the red ear tags on them, right?
Oh, my God. Imagine him using the little ear tag to grip onto something and pull it back towards him.
Or grab your fist and punch you with it or something that, right?
Yeah,
100%. So when you said pillowcase, I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, see, I thought garbage bag, but then I thought that there's too likely it would rip. A good solid cotton pillowcase, I thought, could withstand some of the force that Jackie's going to exert.
Who said
on it.
ripping's a bad thing? Then you got two bags,
That's
two sheets to attack people with, right? So ripping is good.
Oh, it would definitely get cut in half. When the guy comes in with the sword, as it always happens in these movies, they cut the garbage bag in half and he'll have that look on his face like, what am I going to do now? And then he got two, right?
Then I could see Jackie doing something like wrapping his hands up in the remainder of the garbage bag and using it to cushion the blow of the knife and grab the knife. Something like that, right?
What I like about Grace's choice, I could just see him sleeping. He comes in to get attacked and there's nothing there to fight. So he's fighting with the pillow and eventually the pillow slips out of the case and he's left with nothing, right? And then it's even more deadly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a good choice. I can see that as well.
So what's your favorite Jackie Chan movie then with regards to that? Like when you've seen him fight? Because mine probably be Rumble in the Bronx, because there's some really good scenes in that. It's one of his older movies, too.
I wasn't a huge fan of Jackie Chan when I was watching, when I was a kid. I mostly watched, Jet Li movies. But for Jackie Chan, I think some really good physical comedies in The Tuxedo, where he doesn't really have much control of what's happening, and he's just fighting. I like that. I like that vibe. There was a movie from last year, Upgrade, was a very similar movie where I like the comedic aspect of somebody not being able to control their body or not really knowing what's going to happen and then kicking the shit out of somebody, right? The Tuxedo was pretty fun, but I was really partial to the Rush Hour movies.
Yeah, Rush Hour's pretty classic.
Yeah.
Have you guys seen Who Am I? It's this weird Jackie Chan movie that I don't know when it came out. No one's ever heard of it. It's kind of like a Bourne idea where Jackie Chan forgets who he is.
Really?
No way.
Who am I? But it's more of a comedy. And so people are coming after him and he's, fighting them and, oh, how am I doing this? And there's at one point he's on a racetrack in a Formula One car. And he keeps getting on top of buildings and mountains and whatever and just shouting, who am I? And it's just a completely bizarro movie.
No,
I mean, he's like the monkey, right? I mean, he's climbing stuff constantly in all of his movies and shooting up the side of buildings. I mean, what a feller to have in your corner in a fight. If I had him back in grade 5, wouldn't got beat up near so often.
No, for sure. Yeah. What about you, Ham? Do you have a choice for favorite Jackie Chan movie? Or
Rush Hour is pretty great, but my favorite is probably The Drunken Master. That's one of my favorites.
That's a classic one for the walls at Downtown Video. That was there for probably 10 years on the wall behind the cache, on the right side. I remember it perfectly just there, Drunken Master.
It's a really good movie. It's really sad too because he's just he's just drinking himself to death the whole movie.
Well, go and watch The Foreigner, which is his most recent movie. I think it was only a couple of years ago.
I've seen it, yeah.
And that one is kind of depressing.
Well, you go into it expecting a Jackie Chan movie, and there's not even really too much fighting in it. It's just him upset over the death of his daughter. So I don't know. They swerve real hard on you. So
true.
But yeah, to answer your question, give him anything. Jackie Chan kicks ass. So
100%. So that's great. No, that's perfect. Now I know exactly where everyone stands on weaponizing the greatest martial artist of all time, next to Bruce Lee.
Of course. And with that, I think that's it for us this week. We're your last podcast. And if you like what we're doing here, you can always follow us. You can always subscribe to the podcast feed to make sure you stay up to date. And if you're watching on YouTube, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Share us with your friends. And if you're feeling generous, you can always head on over to patreon.com/yourlastpodcast and help support the show. So with that, I'm Colton.
And I'm Josh.
I'm Grace.
Okay, love you. Bye.
right. We'll be back with a new episode next week and every week until our last. So thank you for watching.
Thank you.
Ta-ta for now.
Oh.